Good morning, students. Welcome in HCP lecture. Today I will start the lecture of Pharmacognosy. Okay. Chapter is History and Scope of the Pharmacognosy. Let us first shortly look at what we saw in previous lecture. We have given the definitions to the previous lecture. First of all, two definitions in that. First is pharmacognosy, then laxatives, then cardiotonics, fourth is carminatives, fifth astringent, sixth analeptics, then seventh is antihypertensives, eighth is antitussive, then antirheumatics, tenth is antitumor, 11th is antileptics, then antidiabetics, diuretics, antiseptics, then disinfectants, antimalarials, then oxytoxics, vitamins, enzymes, perfumes, flavoring agents, and pharmaceutical aids. Okay, these definitions we have seen in previous lecture. Okay, this part again I will revise. First is pharmacognosy. Pharmacognosy means is defined as the systemic and scientific study, structure, physical, chemical, and biological characteristics of crude drug, including the study of their history, cultivation, collection, and preparation for market. Then laxatives. Laxatives drugs which promotes the defecation are called as the laxative. For example, castor oil, senna, rhubarb, aloe, and isabgol. Then cardiotonics. Cardiotonics which increases the force of cardiac muscle and stimulate the activity of heart, called as cardiotonics. For example, digitalis and arjuna. Then carminatives. Carminatives means what? The drug which expel the gases from the GIT by increasing the peristalsis are called as the carminatives. For example, fennel, coriander, cardamom, ginger, clove, cinnamon, and clove. Then astringent. And astringent drugs which are causes the precipitation of superficial protein are called as the astringent. For example, black catechu and pale catechu. Then analeptics. The drugs which stimulate the central nervous system are known as the analeptics for or CNS stimulant. For example, naxomica and lobelin. Then antihypertensives, the drugs which are reduce the elevated blood pressure to the normal level. Reduce the elevated blood pressure to the normal level are called as the antihypertensive. For example, Rolfia. Then antitussive. Antitussive drugs which are used in the treatment of cough called as the antitussive. For example, Vasaka, Tulsi, and Tolu balsam. Then antirheumatics. These drugs are used in the treatment of rheumatism, are also known as the antirheumatics. Okay. For example, Google and colchicum. The next is antitumor. These drugs are used in the treatment of cancer called as the anti-cancer. Example, Vinca. Then antileptics, the drugs which are used in the treatment of leprosy are called as the antileptic drug. For example, Cholmogra oil. Then antidiabetic or hypoglycemic agents. The drugs which are used in the treatment of diabetes mellitus are known as the antidiabetic drug. For example, Gymnema and Terocaprus. Okay. Then next is diuretics. Diuretic drugs which are increases the formation of excretion of urine are called as the diuretics. For example, Gokru and Punarnava. Then next is antiseptics. Antiseptics drugs which kills the microbes when applied to the living tissue are called as the antiseptics. For example, benzoin, neem, myrrh, curcuma, and turmeric. Then disinfectants. Disinfectants drugs which kills the bacteria and their spores when applied to the non-living tissue are called as the disinfectants. Example, benzoin, myrrh, neem, curcuma, and turmeric. Then oxytoxics. The drugs which stimulate the uterine contraction and expel the contents of uterus are called as the oxytocics, for example ergot. Then vitamins. Vitamins are the organic substance present in the small amount in natural food stuff and are essential for growth of the body and normal metabolism. For example, shark liver oil, that is vitamin A, and amla, that is vitamin C. Then enzyme. Enzyme are protein substance which catalyze various biochemical reaction. For example, papain, diastase, and yeast. Then perfume. These are the substance made from the natural or synthetic materials are used for creating a pleasant odor. For example, rose, jasmine, sandalwood, and citronella. Then flavoring agent. These are the agents used to give the pleasant flavor to the formulation. For example, peppermint oil, lemon oil, orange oil, and lemongrass oil. Then pharmaceutical aid. The substance which are little or no therapeutic value but are essentially used in the manufacture of compounding of various pharmaceutical products are known as the pharmaceutical aid. For example, honey, starch, acacia, and gelatin. This part we have seen in the previous lecture. Okay, now I will start the today's part. Remaining definitions. Crude drug. Crude drug, it means the drug occurring in natural form. The crude drugs are vegetable or animal drug that contains natural substances that have undergone only the process of collection and drying. Then source of the crude drugs. Crude drugs are obtained from the plant, animal, or minerals which are known as the source of crude drug. First is plant source. For example, digitalis, datura, and clove. Then cinchona, senna, cascara, opium. These are the plant source. Then second is the animal source. Animal source, for example, cochineal, then cantharidin, honey, cod liver oil, then musk, thyroxine, etc. These are the animal source. Then marine source. Marine source is the sponges, red algae, agar, etc. Then mineral source, for example, stal, kaolin, then keshalghar, and etc. Okay. Digitalis, datura, clove, cinchona, then senna, cascara. You will have these drugs in detail later. Now see the definitions only. Okay. Then next is organized drug. The drugs which have definite cellular structures are called as the organized drug. And unorganized drug, the drugs which do not show the definite cellular structure are called as the unorganized drug. Organized drug, for example, phenyl and cinchona, and unorganized drugs are acacia and tragacant. Organized drugs consist of the cellular organization in the form of anatomical. These are mostly the crude drugs from plant source. Almost all of morphological plant parts or the entire plant itself can be called as organized drugs. And unorganized drug, that is acellular. Drugs are produced of plant, animal, mineral source, and they are divided into dried latex, dried juice, dried extract, gums, resins, fixed oil, fats, then waxes, volatile oil, animal products, minerals. That is solid, liquid oil, semi-solid, etc. Then next is Aphrodisiac. The agents which stimulate the sexual desire are called as the aphrodisiac. Then next is technical products. The drugs from natural source which are used in the industries like food industries are called as the technical products. For example, ginger, cardamom, and caraway. Then technical products. Then technical use. The use of drugs other than pharmacological use is called as the technical use. Then substitute. Substitutes are the drugs having less percentage of active constituents and are added to the genuine drug. Okay. Then adulterants. Adulterants are the substance. The adulterants are the substance purposefully added in the original drugs to increase the profit in marketing, and they look similar to original drugs but do not contain any active chemical constituents. Then barks. Barks are the external tissue of the stem. Okay. You have the practical of tears of the barks and a very thin tears of the bark for the observed characters. Okay. Then fracture. The transverse broken surface of the bark is known as the fracture. Then balsam. Balsam, the oleoregens which contains the benzoic acid or cinnamic acid are termed as the balsam. It is the resinous exudate which forms on the certain kinds of trees and shrubs. Balsam, from Latin balsam, gum of the balsam tree, then ultimately form Semitic, aromatic balsam, sorry, bus, Arabic balsam and herb. Then balsam, spice and perfume. Was its name of the biblical balm of Gilead. Okay. Then Sialogogue. The drugs which increases the secretion of saliva are called as the sialogogue. For example, tobacco. Then galactogogue. The drugs which increase the secretion of milk are called as the galactogogue. For example, shatavari. Then chalagogue. The drugs which increases the secretion of bile. For example, turmeric. Then it is the medical agents which promotes the discharge of the bile from the system, purging it downward. Then hydrogogue, the drugs which are promotes the watery evacuation of the bowel are called as the hydrogogue. For example, jalaf, calomel. Then immunogogue, the substance which stimulate the menstrual flow are called as the immunogogue. And last is the stomachics, the substance which increases the secretion of gastric juice and the functional activity of stomach are called as the stomachics. For example, dill, fennel, coriander and gentian. Here are finish the definitions of scope and history of the pharmacognosy. Okay. In next lecture we have seen the scope and history of the pharmacognosy. Now you may have understood today's part. Now I will stop here. Thank you.